She was dismissed the moment she stepped into the publishing office, a fraying wool coat, worn-down shoes, her arms clutched a thick manuscript bound with tape at the edges, the pages already yellowing. A receptionist looked her up and down, raising an eyebrow like she'd just caught a whiff of something moldy. "You're here to submit a story? Handwritten?" An editor, with slicked-back hair and a smug tone, barely glanced at the title before laughing out loud. "A boy wizard who lives under the stairs? What is this, budget Tolkien?" The entire room burst into laughter. One staffer even lifted the manuscript, held it up, and joked, "Another legend written by hand, perfect for the recycling bin." And then they tossed it, right in front of her. Emily bent down, retrieved her manuscript, folded a torn corner gently, and turned away, without bowing her head. Just a quiet nod, as if they were the ones being rejected, because they didn't know the book they just threw away would become a literary phenomenon for an entire generation, and the woman they just ridiculed would rewrite the world. Emily Brooks lived in a cramped flat above a noisy chip shop in London, the kind of place where the walls smelled of grease and the radiator clanked like it was auditioning for a horror film. She was 31, a single mom to a 6-year-old daughter, Lily, who slept on a mattress in the corner while Emily wrote at a wobbly kitchen table. Her days started at dawn, juggling toast and crayons for Lily, then a rush to drop her at school before heading to the cafe near King's Cross Station. It was a dingy spot, greasy spoons, chipped mugs, and a jukebox that hadn't worked since the 90s. But it was her sanctuary. There, in a corner booth, she'd unfold her notebook and write, her pen scratching out a world where a boy named Harry Porter lived under a staircase, dreaming of magic. Her clothes were simple: a faded sweater, a skirt patched at the hem, shoes so worn the soles flapped when it rained. Her dark hair was always a little messy, tied back with a rubber band, strands escaping like they had a mind of their own. She didn't care. She wasn't writing for applause. She was writing for Lily, for herself, for the kid she saw at the library who had nothing but stories to escape into. Her manuscript, Harry Porter and the Glass Owl, was her heart on paper, a tale of a boy who wasn't chosen, who found magic in a world that ignored him, who chose himself. Every word was handwritten, every page a labor of love, taped together when the binding split. Emily sent it to 12 publishers. She'd spent her last 20 pounds on postage, wrapping each copy in brown paper, her hands shaking as she sealed the envelopes. She didn't expect a yes, just a chance. But the rejections came fast, each one a dagger. "Don't try to write fantasy if you don't understand the world," one letter snapped, the signature from a senior editor at Crownwell Press, Martin Hale. "A woman writing magic? No thank you," wrote another from Pinnacle Books, the words scribbled in red ink by a junior editor named Clara Voss. "This tone belongs in a child's after-school diary, not a bookstore," sneered a third from Regent House, penned by a literary agent, Simon Trent, whose name was stamped in gold on the letterhead. Emily read each one silently, her face calm, then tucked them into a drawer. She didn't cry. She went back to the cafe and kept writing. At a local bookshop where Emily sometimes browsed, she overheard a literary scout from Pinnacle Books, Clara Voss, gossiping with the owner. "You won't believe the nerve of this woman who sent us a manuscript," Clara said, her voice dripping with disdain. "Some single mom, dressed like she's homeless, thinks she's invented wizardry. I told my team, burn it before it wastes more space." The owner chuckled, glancing at Emily, who was flipping through a used paperback nearby, unaware she was the topic. "Probably another sob story looking for pity," he said, loud enough for her to hear. A customer joined in, smirking. "What's she gonna do, cast a spell to get published?" The group laughed, their eyes flicking to Emily's patched skirt and messy hair. She didn't look up, her fingers tracing the book's spine, but the air felt heavier, their words a weight she carried back to her cafe booth. Her pen trembled slightly as she wrote, but she didn't stop. Her story was her answer. Emily sat in her cafe booth one rainy afternoon, her notebook open, when a group of publishing interns from Regent House spilled in, their laughter filling the air. One spotted her nudging his friends. "Look, it's the wizard lady, still scribbling her kitty nonsense." He strutted over, peering at her pages. "What's this, Harry What's-It? Gonna make you rich, huh, love?" His friends howled, one mimicking her pen strokes with exaggerated flourishes. "Bet she thinks bookstores are begging for this drivel," another sneered, loud enough for other patrons to turn. A waitress, joining the fun, set Emily's coffee down hard, muttering, "Dreamers like you clog up the place." The intern snapped a selfie with her in the background, posting it with #fantasy fail, single mom's sad hobby. Emily's hand paused, ink smudging slightly, but her face stayed steady, her gaze fixed on the page. The cafe felt smaller, their cruelty a storm she weathered silently, her story her only anchor. The worst came from Crownwell Press. Emily had mustered the courage to deliver her manuscript in person, hoping a face-to-face might sway them. She stood in their sleek office, all glass and chrome, clutching her pages. Martin Hale, the editor who'd rejected her by mail, was there, surrounded by assistants. He took one look at her fraying coat and smirked. An unknown woman, dressed like a housewife, who thinks she's creating the next mythology? Ridiculous. He didn't even open the manuscript. Instead, he lifted it with 2 fingers, like it was contaminated, and tossed it into a recycling bin. His assistants laughed, one muttering, "Back to the kitchen, love." Emily knelt, retrieved her pages, and left without a word. Her silence wasn't defeat, it was defiance, a promise to her story. As Emily left Crownwell Press, her manuscript clutched tight. A group of assistants followed her to the elevator, their giggles echoing in the sterile hallway. One, a young woman with a designer scarf, called out, "Hey, housewife, stick to knitting next time. Leave the writing to the pros." Another mimicked her walk, exaggerating the flap of her worn shoes, while a third snapped a photo, posting it online with the caption, "Delusional wannabe crashes publishing world, #epic fail." The elevator doors closed, but not before their laughter rang out, sharp and relentless. Emily stood inside, her reflection faint in the metal doors, her face still serene but her knuckles white around her pages. On the street, a passerby recognized her from the viral post and pointed, whispering to a friend, "That's the woman who thought she could write a bestseller." The city seemed to mock her, every glance a reminder of her rejection. Yet she walked on, her silence a shield, her story unbroken. After another rejection letter arrived, Emily visited Pinnacle Books to plead her case, her manuscript tucked under her arm. Clara Voss met her in the lobby, her red heels clicking like a warning. "You again?" Clara snapped, eyeing Emily's patched sweater. "I told you no one wants your little magic story," she called over colleagues, her voice mocking. "This is the one who thinks she's the next big thing, a single mom with a fairy tale." They laughed, one assistant tossing a crumpled coffee cup toward a bin near Emily, smirking when it grazed her arm. "Oops, thought you'd catch it with a spell," he said, winking at Clara. A security guard, overhearing, joined in. "Time to go, lady. Don't waste their time." Clara waved her off, already turning away. "Stick to raising your kid, not writing flops," she called, the lobby echoing with snickers. Emily left, her steps steady, her pages unharmed, but the sting of their words clung like damp cold. Months passed, Emily's savings dwindled. She skipped meals to buy Lily new shoes, her own coat growing thinner as winter bit. She was down to her last hope when a letter arrived from a tiny publisher, Willow Tree Press, barely surviving in a basement office. The owner, Margaret Cole, was blunt. "We're on the brink of collapse. Your book's a risk, but I like it. We'll print 1,000 copies, on one condition. Use initials. No one should know you're a woman." Emily hesitated, her pen hovering over the contract. She didn't want to hide. But Lily needed school supplies, and the flat's rent was overdue. She signed as E.J. Brooks. Harry Potter and the Glass Owl hit shelves in June, a quiet release in a handful of London bookshops. The cover was plain, just a sketch of an owl with glass wings, the title in small font, no fanfare, no ads. Emily didn't expect much. She kept working, taking shifts at a laundromat to make ends meet, writing at the cafe when she could. But then something shifted. A public school in Leeds sent her a letter, handwritten by a teacher named Ms. Patel. "We read your book to our class," it said. "The kids haven't stopped talking about Harry. They cried when he found the glass owl, thank you." Emily held the letter, her throat tight, and tucked it beside her rejections. When Harry Potter and the Glass Owl first hit shelves, it was a whisper in a storm of big-name releases. But then, a spark caught fire. A bookshop in Glasgow hosted a reading, and kids packed the room, eyes wide as Harry faced the shadow veil. Parents swapped stories of bedtime readings, their voices soft with awe. "My daughter hasn't read a book in years. Now she won't let go of Harry." By August, London's biggest bookstore had a line out the door, kids clutching copies, chanting Harry's spells like a secret code. A viral video showed a boy in Sydney reenacting the Glass Owl's flight, his cardboard wings flapping wildly. Newspapers called it a phenomenon born from nothing. Emily's world, Hogwarts's candlelit halls, the owl's shimmering prophecy, wasn't just a story. It was a home for the overlooked. The book's fame spread like wildfire, every copy a testament to her unshaken heart. The audience roared, knowing the world had found her at last. Word spread. A teacher in Manchester read it aloud, and her students drew pictures of Harry's wand, taping them to their desks. A librarian in Bristol ordered 10 more copies after kids fought over the only one. A blogger, some teenager named Katie, posted a quote online. "The boy who wasn't chosen, chose himself." It got 100 likes, then 1,000, then 10,000. By September, bookshops couldn't keep it in stock. Parents called it magic. Kids called it theirs. A photo went viral. A girl in a hospital bed clutching Harry Potter, smiling for the first time in weeks. Emily saw it on a library computer and wiped her eyes, her heart full. By autumn, Harry Potter and the Glass Owl was no longer just a book. It was a movement. Schools across Britain made it required reading, teachers noting how kids who hated books now raced to finish Harry's tale. A Paris library reported wait lists stretching months, with teens sketching the Glass Owl on their notebooks. In Chicago, a community center held a Harry night, where families dressed as wizards, their laughter echoing through the streets. Social media buzzed with quotes. "The boy who wasn't chosen, chose himself." Painted on bedroom walls, tattooed on wrists. A Tokyo newsstand sold out in hours, the clerk saying, "It's like Harry's real." Emily's story had woven a spell, its magic crossing borders, giving voice to the silent. Bookstores begged for reprints, their shelves bare, while readers flooded Willow Tree Press with letters. "More Harry, please." The world wasn't just reading, it was living her dream, and the audience felt every victory as their own. 3 months after release, the book exploded. It hit the bestseller lists, first in the UK, then America, then Japan. Newspapers ran headlines, "There's a mystery author E.J. Brooks redefines fantasy." Bookstores sold out, ordering reprints by the thousands. Willow Tree Press, saved from bankruptcy, moved to a proper office. Margaret Cole called Emily, her voice shaking. "We're printing 1,000,000 copies. 1,000,000? Who are you?" Emily laughed softly, still in her fraying coat. "Just a mom who likes stories." As winter loomed, Harry Potter and the Glass Owl became a beacon. Bookstores in Delhi hosted midnight releases, kids chanting Harry's name under lantern light. A Brazilian orphanage reported its kids pooling coins to buy a shared copy, reading by flashlight after curfew. Fan letters poured into Willow Tree Press, drawings of Hogwarts, poems about the Glass Owl, stories of bullies faced because Harry showed the way. A London theater adapted it, selling out weeks in advance, the audience weeping as Harry's wand lit the stage. Critics who'd scoffed now ate their words, one writing, "Brooks crafted a myth that feels eternal." The book's spell wasn't just in its pages. It was in the courage it gave, the dreams it sparked. From Moscow to Mexico City, readers wore owl pins, a quiet nod to Emily's world. Her story had conquered doubt, its fame a crown she never sought, and the audience basked in its glow. The National Literary Gala was the publishing world's Oscars, held at the Savoy Hotel, all crystal chandeliers and black tie pomp. Emily got an invitation, not as a guest, but as the guest of honor. She almost didn't go. Lily had a cold, and the train fare to central London wasn't cheap. But Margaret insisted, sending a ticket and a note. "You deserve this." Emily wore a simple linen dress, pale blue, bought from a charity shop for a $5. Her shoes were the same worn pair, her hair loose and a little tangled. She carried her notebook just in case inspiration struck on the train. The gala was a sea of tailored suits and sequined gowns, the air thick with champagne and ego. Emily slipped in quietly, her invitation clutched tight. No one noticed her at first. She stood by a pillar, watching editors and agents air kiss, their laughter echoing like the Crownwell office all over again. Martin Hale was there, schmoozing with a glass of whiskey, his slicked-back hair glinting under the lights. Clara Voss from Pinnacle Books held court in a red dress, dismissing a waiter with a flick of her wrist. Simon Trent, the Regent House agent, boasted about his latest signing, his voice carrying over the crowd. None of them recognized Emily when she passed, her linen dress a ghost among their finery. She shook hands with a few publishers, her grip firm but gentle. Martin Hale took her hand absently, his eyes already scanning for someone more important. "Nice to meet you," he said, not asking her name. "Enjoy the evening." Clara Voss gave her a tight smile, muttering to an assistant, "Who's that? Some blogger?" Simon Trent didn't even look up from his phone. Emily nodded politely, her face serene, and moved on. She didn't need their approval. She'd come for the kids who loved Harry, for Lily, for the story that refused to die. The room hummed with anticipation as the host, a BBC presenter with a velvet voice, took the stage. "Tonight, we honor the literary world's brightest stars," he began, his smile dazzling. "But one name has outshone them all. A debut novel, written under initials, has captured hearts across the globe. It's redefined storytelling, given children a hero, and saved a publisher from ruin." The crowd leaned forward, whispering, "Was it really E.J. Brooks? Here?" Martin Hale adjusted his tie, smirking to Clara Voss. "Probably some Oxbridge grad playing humble," he said. Clara nodded, rolling her eyes. The host's voice rose. "Please welcome the author of the decade's best-selling novel, the woman who created an entire world for millions of children, Emily Brooks." The ballroom froze. Glasses clinked, breaths caught. Emily stepped forward, her linen dress catching the light, her worn shoes silent on the polished floor. Her hair was still tangled, her notebook tucked under her arm, but her eyes, steady, warm, unyielding, held the room captive. She climbed the stage, every step deliberate, like Hogwarts itself stood behind her. Martin Hale's whiskey slipped from his hand, splashing his shoes. Clara Voss's red dress seemed to tighten, her face paling. Simon Trent's phone dropped to the table, his boast forgotten. The crowd was silent, a sea of stunned faces as Emily reached the podium. She set her notebook down, her fingers brushing the worn cover, and looked out at the room. Her voice, when she spoke, was clear, unhurried, like a spell being cast. "You mocked the story before you turned the page. Now the whole world reads it." The room held its breath. Emily didn't raise her voice, didn't point fingers. She didn't need to. Her words landed like truth, sharp and undeniable. "I wrote Harry Potter and the Glass Owl for my daughter, for kids who feel invisible, for anyone who's ever been told they're not enough. You didn't see it. You didn't have to. The kids did. They found Harry, and he found them." She paused, her gaze sweeping the front row, Martin, Clara, Simon, all frozen. "This isn't about me. It's about a boy who chose himself, and the millions who chose him back." As Emily spoke from the gala stage, the crowd's silence broke into murmurs of awe. A children's librarian, seated near the back, stood first, her hands clapping fiercely. "My students read Harry Potter every night," she called out, her voice trembling. "They've started writing their own stories because of you." The room turned, eyes widening as others joined her. A bookseller who'd sold out of copies in hours, a parent whose shy son now carried Harry's courage. Emily's words had painted a world so vivid it felt real. Harry's wand sparking under starlight, the glass owl's wings shimmering with secrets. Her talent wasn't just skill, it was alchemy, turning pain into hope. The applause grew louder, a tidal wave of respect, as publishers who'd ignored her now scribbled her name furiously, realizing they'd missed a genius. Emily stood there, her linen dress a beacon, her quiet strength louder than their cheers. The applause started slowly, a ripple, then a wave. It wasn't just polite, it was raw, real, shaking the chandeliers. Emily stepped down, her dress swaying, and returned to her spot by the pillar. Off stage, the gala buzzed with talk of Harry Potter and the Glass Owl. A critic near the bar, once skeptical, admitted, "I read it last week, couldn't put it down. The way Harry faces the shadow veil? It's not just a story, it's a mirror for every kid who's felt alone." A young author clutched her signed copy, whispering to a friend, "It's like Emily saw my childhood, the bullies, the dreams, and gave them magic." The book's world was alive. Hogwarts halls echoing with spells, the Glass Owl's prophecy haunting every page. Kids in Tokyo dressed as Harry for Halloween. Parents in New York read it aloud, voices cracking at the ending. Its words had sparked book clubs, fan art, even a school play in Dublin. Emily's story wasn't just read, it was lived, its magic seeping into hearts worldwide. The crowd glanced at her by the pillar, no longer a nobody, but a creator whose pen had redrawn reality. At the gala, as Emily stood by her pillar, the book's legend grew louder. A bookseller cornered a critic, voice urgent. "I've sold thousands of books, but Harry Potter, it's different. Kids read it like it's oxygen." Across the room, a teacher shared how her class built a cardboard Hogwarts, their faces alight with pride. Fans had launched a global campaign, Read Like Harry, inspiring libraries to stock more fantasies for kids. The book's scenes, Harry's duel with the Frost Wraith, the Owl's whispered prophecy, were quoted in classrooms, cafes, even parliaments. A UN delegate admitted it shaped her speech on hope. Emily's world wasn't just famous, it was a force, reshaping how people saw courage, loss, and love. Readers in Cape Town sent videos, dancing to Harry's theme, while New York's Times Square flashed the book's cover. The crowd's whispers turned to reverence, their eyes on Emily, now a mythmaker in a linen dress. Her victory, the world's gain. The host stammered, trying to move on, but no one listened. Eyes followed Emily, whispers spreading. "That's her? She's E.J. Brooks? She wrote that book?" Martin Hale sank into his chair, his face gray. Clara Voss clutched her clutch, her smile gone. Simon Trent stared at his phone, as if it could undo the moment. By morning, the fallout was swift. Crownwell Press, Martin Hale's pride, faced a PR nightmare. Blogs dug up his recycling bin stunt, and readers flooded social media. Crownwell rejected Harry Potter? Fire Hale. The board demoted him to junior editor, his office reassigned to a cubicle. Clara Voss's pinnacle books lost credibility when a leaked email showed her no women note. Authors jumped ship, and her latest fantasy line tanked, mocked as no magic here. Simon Trent's agency bled clients after he bragged about rejecting diary scribbles. His gold-stamped letterhead meant nothing now, his desk piled with unsold manuscripts. The publishing world reeled as Emily's victory sank in. Simon Trent, the agent who'd sneered at her diary scribbles, watched his agency crumble overnight. Top authors dropped him, citing his lack of vision, while bookstores refused his clients' titles, favoring Harry Potter displays. His gold-stamped letterhead was mocked online, memes captioning it, "The Man Who Missed Magic." Clara Voss's career imploded when her "No Women" email went viral. Pinnacle's stock plummeted, and she was sidelined to editing cookbooks, her red dress a bitter memory. Even Martin Hale's demotion stung deeper. His peers whispered about his bin blunder, and his inbox filled with reader hate mail. "You threw away our Harry." Their arrogance had cost them everything, their names now footnotes to Emily's legend. The audience cheered as social media crowned her, the queen who wrote with tape and truth. Emily didn't watch the chaos. She was back at the cafe, writing the sequel, her pen moving as Lily colored beside her. Willow Tree Press sent her a royalty check, enough for a bigger flat, a proper bed for Lily, and a new notebook. She didn't gloat, didn't crow. She just wrote, her story stronger than their scorn. The world read Harry Potter, and Emily Brooks, the woman they'd called a nobody, became a legend. This is the power of a story that won't quit. If this story moved you, like, share, comment, and subscribe for more.